The Future History of Energy and Transportation. Documenting the paradigm shift from the era of oil and internal combustion to the era of robotics. By Julian Cox. Narrated by the author with the aid of an artificial intelligence. Chapter 10. Vehicle Level Energy Efficiency Explored. Describing component level efficiency, thermal efficiency on the bench, while useful to designers and engineers seeking improvements to vehicle subassemblies and for vehicle systems integration, it does little to describe energy efficiency in the context of a moving vehicle. Here, gross disparities exist as a function of core drivetrain technology, such as the presence or absence of regenerative deceleration, regenerative braking, and of course rolling resistance and aerodynamic drag, that are not captured on the bench. At the vehicle level, we can move on from percentages to discussing efficiency in terms of energy as input, and output as vehicle miles. A fully charged 2021 Tesla Model S Long Range Plus, hereafter Tesla Model S, contains 100 kilowatt-hours of energy when fully charged, to drive 405 US EPA combined cycle miles, against air resistance and after absorbing all other losses, net of regenerative deceleration. 100 kilowatt-hours in, albeit net of 11.8% charging losses. 405 miles out. This seems like pretty good efficiency for delivering vehicle miles. 100 kilowatt-hours worth of gasoline, 3 US gallons, would only take a roughly similar vehicle, like a BMW 750iX drive, 57 miles at 19 miles per gallon US EPA combined cycle. A typical gasoline internal combustion engine on the bench is about 20 to 25% efficient and an electric drivetrain about 80 to 85% efficient, and while this may be true at the component level, very few of the traditional assumptions that flow from these numbers are informative. Here we can immediately describe a disconnect with component level energy efficiency. If we were mistakenly to assume that the BMW 750iX drive is 25% efficient at converting gasoline into kinetic energy at the wheels, then by simple multiplication and division, such as 25% times 405 miles divided by 57 miles, that would put the Tesla Model S at 178% efficient. That is if component level energy efficiency on the bench translated directly to passenger miles. Clearly it does not. A sensible vehicle level thermal efficiency figure for the BMW, after accounting for alternator, cooling pump, air conditioning, and transmission losses, brings us to the US EPA estimate of around 13 to 15% tank-to-wheel efficiency. That still doesn't take into consideration disparities in aerodynamics with the Tesla Model S. Typically an engine block dictates suboptimal aerodynamics over the front end of a vehicle, especially in smaller cars, except mid- or rear-engine sports cars, with 2 adult-sized seats. Furthermore, an internal combustion vehicle requires a substantial radiator to be driven through the air for cooling and requires cooling for an exhaust system, typically compromising aerodynamics to the underside. Together, these are constraints that are inherent to internal combustion drivetrain architecture in a moving vehicle, that are avoidable in the design of an EV. With vehicle level efficiency herein described, we can effectively ignore thermal efficiency and drag coefficients altogether and cut directly to the real-world numbers that describe their outcome, to make sense of different vehicle technologies, expressed in easily understood vehicle miles of output. When discussing vehicle-level energy efficiency, we are strictly speaking, discussing tank-to-wheel and battery-to-wheel numbers. However, for electric vehicles with onboard chargers and in fact generally, it will make more sense for us to draw the lines at pump-to-wheel and electrical outlet-to-wheel, in line with where the input of fuel by the gallon or liter, and electrical energy is transacted from society, to the end user's account of vehicle miles received. The energy efficiency of getting fuel materials, or energy to the pump or the wall socket, is referred to here as societal level energy efficiency. Meanwhile, for vehicle level energy efficiency, nobody need sweat the math, because the numbers are published by the US EPA. The US EPA states that the Tesla Model S consumes on average 28 kilowatt-hours, which is 280 watt-hours per mile, to travel 100 miles and has a maximum range of 405 miles. Putting those figures together we get 113.4 kilowatt-hours to go 405 miles. The Tesla Model S has a battery capacity of 100 kilowatt-hours, and so that extra 13.4 kilowatt-hours can be used to approximate the charging loss of a single charge. 100 kilowatt-hours is 11.8% less than 113.4 kilowatt-hours. In other words, charging the battery is 88.2% efficient from outlet to battery. See a deep dive about batteries for some finer points of chemistry, physics and battery management systems. So at the vehicle level, wall socket to wheel, 113.4 kilowatt-hours of electricity is supplied to the 2021 Tesla Model S, to deliver 405 US EPA combined cycle miles. As does 15 US gallons of gasoline, amounting to 505.5 kilowatt-hours, per US EPA conversion of 33.7 kilowatt-hours per gallon, pumped into a 27 miles per gallon US fleet average new vehicle, such as a BMW 328i. This pathway also delivers 405 US EPA combined cycle miles. So the vehicle-level energy efficiency of a 27 miles per gallon US fleet average new vehicle is 22.4% as energy efficient, or 77.6% less energy efficient at delivering miles, than a Tesla Model S. For a more reasonable comparison, a BMW 750iX drive at 19 miles per gallon with all-wheel drive engaged, is 15.8% as energy efficient or 84.2% less efficient, than the similarly large and even higher performance, all-wheel drive Tesla Model S. Given that what we want to be efficient about at the vehicle level, is output of vehicle miles per unit of energy consumed, this 15.8% figure is the reason why a battery of 100 kilowatt-hours with a rechargeable energy density of circa 300 watt-hours per kilogram at the cell level, is passably range competitive with a tank of gasoline that possesses a volumetric energy density of 33,700 watt-hours per gallon, or 674 kilowatt-hours of thermal energy potential in a 20-gallon tank. 15.8% of 674 kilowatt-hours is 106.5 kilowatt-hours, closely matching the 100 kilowatt-hour Tesla Model S. The BMW 750iX drive has a 20.6-gallon tank. Gasoline has a 12,200 watt-hour per kilogram specific energy density, but it takes up a lot of volume in a vehicle. For only a few hundred kilowatt-hours of energy potential, and burning gasoline for mechanical work is abysmally inefficient. The oil and refinery industry, on the other hand, is highly efficient at getting gas to the pump, to be discussed. For the purpose of vehicle-level energy efficiency, the vast majority of both volume and energy is for waste heat instead of miles, and furthermore, much of the vehicle design must be dedicated to waste heat disposal in the form of a radiator, exhaust system, fans and pumps. These ancillary systems, and not the transmission, handle the majority of the energy of an internal combustion vehicle, and these systems introduce inefficiencies, both mechanical and aerodynamic, and they add curb weight, that compounds into a requirement for heavier brakes, suspension and crash structures, which in turn speaks to rolling resistance and cornering scrub, the latter exacerbated by raising the vehicle's center of gravity. Plus, all of the above must be accelerated as parts of a moving internal combustion vehicle, and also decelerated without making any contribution to regenerative braking. These compounding inefficiencies and design constraints at the vehicle level is the explanation why a battery with a specific energy density of only 300 watt-hours per kilogram or thereabouts is competitive in the presence of superbly optimized electric vehicle engineering. Much beyond that, say batteries of 400 watt-hours per kilogram in volume production as a function of the ordinary course of events, is a disaster for gasoline and diesel, making competition with internal combustion easy. The superb electric vehicle engineering will not become a forgotten art with the continual advancement and cost reductions of batteries, either. Vehicle efficiency needs to be measured at the vehicle level. Whole vehicle efficiency matters when what we are interested in is energy in and vehicle miles out. One of the more epic failures to appreciate this is in the pursuit of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, which is essentially an engine with an ionic separator, referred to as a proton exchange membrane, and an electrical circuit instead of a piston, but still consumes fuel and atmospheric oxygen and expels the exhaust in the form of low-pressure steam or liquid water, H2O, instead of recharging this material to hydrogen and oxygen, like a battery. This is why the fuel cell stack of a fuel cell vehicle is not innately capable of supporting regenerative deceleration. Every fuel cell vehicle presented to the auto market requires a great deal of support systems on board the vehicle, including an entire hybrid EV architecture. So while the fuel cell may attain perhaps a 40 to 60% thermal energy to electrical conversion efficiency, at optimum steady-state performance at the component level on the bench, after driving the motor, the plethora of subsystems and whole vehicle along the road and through the air, the vehicle level efficiency is essentially poor. For example, the Toyota Mirai gets 59 miles on 33 kilowatt-hours worth of hydrogen US EPA combined cycle. So that is 179 miles per 100 kilowatt-hours or 50% of the electrical outlet to wheel vehicle level energy efficiency of the Tesla Model S, including charging losses for the Model S but forgiving the Mirai hydrogen compression losses, on the basis that compressing hydrogen is a cost to society for delivering the fuel. Authors note, to suggest that mileage customers demand to pay for compressed hydrogen is certainly a stretch. Of course, this is an unfair comparison to the Model S because the Model S is a very significantly larger and more capable vehicle than the Toyota Mirai. The Mirai carries only 4 passengers with cramped luggage space due to the bulk of hydrogen tanks on top of systems duplication with an EV. Comfort is not equal due to a relatively high center of gravity, low power and poor handling, and of course the performance at 9 seconds 0 to 60 is borderline inadequate to merge with ordinary road traffic. This is before contemplating high maintenance, specialist maintenance impracticalities and unacceptable end-of-service life failure modes of hydrogen tanks pressurized to 700 bar. Not to mention the amateur mechanic tampering risk out in the wild. Rockets are hard because of systems like this. There is no reason not to say it like it is. The Mirai is within 3 miles per 33 kilowatt-hour of energy input distant from a gasoline Prius, 59 versus 56 miles, and the Prius carries 5 passengers. We will discuss the rationale for hydrogen at length in the chapter entitled Of Hydrogen and Earth. Meanwhile, it is fair to say that hydrogen fuel cell technology in vehicles is an error, inspired in part by the academic pursuit of dazzling headline component-level efficiency numbers on the bench, while overlooking the practicalities of vehicle-level efficiency when including the entire balance of system of the FCV drivetrain and its compounding inefficiencies in a moving vehicle. For the avoidance of doubt, a 40 to 60% efficient fuel cell stack requires a radiator, for lack of a traditional exhaust pipe, to dispose of 60 to 40% of all thermal energy inputs as waste heat. Plus, in a moving vehicle, a radiator to dispose of the waste heat from a DC to DC converter, an inverter, air conditioning and the drive motor. Notwithstanding, efforts of hydrogen marketers and lobbyists persist, to be discussed. There is a reason for this that falls outside the scope of technological and environmental optimization. While all of the above may seem like a closing argument for societal efforts to be thrown 100% into electric vehicles to the abandonment of internal combustion and hydrogen, it is only indicative. There is more,